Imagine you're handed a book. It is the story of your life, bound in leather, spanning 80 or 90 years. You flip to the early pages, the education chapter, the first career chapter. The narrative feels similar. It's the script we were all promised. But as you turn the page to the next chapter, the ink starts to fade, the margins disappear, the language shifts from one you understand to a dialect of numbers, volatility, and risk that you were never taught to speak. For the vast majority of the global population, this is not a metaphor, it is the literal reality of 2026. Good evening, my name is Param Chandarana, and I'm here today because we are living through a period where the old script, the one that promised stability in exchange for loyalty, been edited. It has been liquidated. We have moved from a world of defined benefits to a world of defined contributions. The risk of your future has been transferred from the institution to the individual. Yet, we are sending billions of people into this high stakes environment without the most fundamental tool of survival, the ability to understand the mechanics of capital. Tonight, we aren't talking about budgeting tips or skipping your morning coffee. Those are 20th century echoes. Tonight, we are talking about financial literacy as a human right. We are talking about the invisible architecture of power that determines whether you are the protagonist of your next chapter or merely a footnote in someone else's balance sheet. To understand the urgency of the next chapter, we must first perform an audit of the current one. And the data is, frankly, an indictment of our global education systems. According to the S&P Global Finlit survey, only 33% of adults globally are financially literate. This is a staggering statistic. It means that two-thirds of the human race cannot calculate basic compound interest, do not understand the erosion of inflation, and cannot grasp the concept of risk diversification. We are witnessing the great wealth transfer. Over the next 2 decades, an estimated $84 trillion will pass from older generations to Gen Z and millennials. This is the largest transfer of capital in human history. But capital without literacy is just a countdown to zero. The Williams Group found that 70% of wealthy families lose their fortune by the second generation and 90% lose it by the third. In high-growth economic hubs like the UAE and the UK, we see a prosperity paradox. They have world-class infrastructure and high-income professionals, yet a significant percentage of these high earners are financially fragile. They are Henrys, high earners not rich yet. They have the income, but they lack the buffer. They are running faster and faster on a treadmill of consumption, fueled by credit, while their next chapter is being written by the interests of banks rather than their own ambitions. So, why do we find this so difficult? Because the human brain is an evolutionary masterpiece of linear thinking, but the modern economy is exponential. Our ancestors survived by thinking linearly. If I gather 10 berries today and 10 tomorrow, I have 20 berries. But money in the 24th century operates on the exponential function. Consider the power of 1. If I take 30 linear steps, I cross a room. If I take 30 exponential steps, doubling the distance with each step, I don't just cross a room, I travel over 1 billion meters. I go to the moon and back. Financial literacy is the mastery of this exponential engine. Most people look at $1,000 purchase and see $1,000. A financially literate mind looks at the same $1,000 and sees the opportunity cost. At a 7% annual return, that $1,000 is actually $7,600 in the next 30 years. When you spend that money on a depreciating asset today, you aren't just spending cash. You are burning a $7,600 version of your future self. But there's a counterforce to that, entropy. In finance, we call it inflation. In the previous chapter, saving was a virtue. In the next chapter, saving is a risk. If you hold $100,000 in cash while inflation is at 4%, you are losing $4,000 of purchasing power every single year. You are effectively paying a silence tax for your lack of literacy. High-level literacy means shifting from being a saver to being an allocator. A saver looks at a dollar and sees a unit of consumption. An allocator looks at a dollar and sees a worker, a tiny worker that works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, without rest to acquire more workers. We cannot talk about the next chapter of finance without talking about the next chapter of human psychology. We are living in a dopamine economy. Every app in your pocket was designed by engineers, some of the most brilliant minds on the planet, to exploit your hyperbolic discounting. This is our biological tendency to choose a small, immediate reward over a larger later one. We have been conditioned to signal our status through destructive consumption. We buy things to impress people we don't like, with the money we don't have, to satisfy an ego we don't understand. We have been sold the lie that a rich life is defined by what we spend, when in reality, a rich life is defined by what we own. High-level financial literacy at its core, emotional regulation. It is the ability to look at a market crash when the headlines are red and the herd is panicking, and see a flash sale on the world's most productive assets. The best performing investors aren't the ones with the highest IQs. They are the ones with the highest temperamental stability. They understand that highest they understand that in the next chapter, the greatest asset you own isn't your portfolio, it's your ability to remain rational when everyone else is acting on impulse. We must recognize the hedonic treadmill. As our income increases, our expectations and desires rise in tandem, resulting in no net gain in happiness. Financial literacy provides the off switch for this treadmill. It allows you to define enough. By 2030, McKinsey projects that automation and AI could displace up to 30% of work hours globally. If your next chapter is written entirely on the basis of your labor, your ability to trade your time for wage, you are in a precarious position. Labor is a depreciating asset in an age of AI. It is subject to physical limits, biological fatigue, and technological replacement. Capital, however, is an accelerating asset. If you own the companies that own the AI, then the robots are working for you. If you only provide the labor, the robots are competing with you. Financial literacy is the bridge that allows you to move from the labor column to the capital column. It is the difference between being a victim of the next chapter and being its architect. We need to stop asking, how do I get a better job? And start asking, how do I acquire the assets that make the job optional? This is the shift from employment to equity. So, how do we write this next chapter? We use what is known the barbell strategy. High-level literacy involves understanding asymmetry. Most people live symmetrical lives. They take risks when the downside is just as large as the upside. They over-leverage to buy a home they can barely afford, risking total ruin if the market dips by 10%. The floor. You place the vast majority of your resources into boring resilience. This is your emergency fund, low-cost index funds, and solid insurance. This ensures that no black swan event, a pandemic, a layoff, a market crash can ever delete your story. You are unkillable. The ceiling. You place a small portion of your resources into aggressive upside. This is where you take high-risk, high-reward bets. Starting a business, investing in disruptive technologies, or learning a high-level rare skill. This isn't about getting rich quick. It's positioning for luck. It's building a life that doesn't just survive volatility, but actually benefits from it. When the next chapter brings a storm, you don't want to be the person building a wall. You want to be the person building a windmill. Finally, we must address the system. It is a moral and intellectual failure that we graduate academic geniuses who are financial infants. We teach the intricacies of the Krebs cycle, but not the mechanics of a tax code. We teach the dates of ancient wars, but not the history of the monetary system that funds them. We are sending young people into a world of buy now, pay later algorithms and complex derivative markets without a shield. This is not just an educational oversight. It is a wealth gap generator, because those who understand the rules of the game collect the interest, and those who don't pay it. We need to treat financial literacy not as an elective, but as a core competency of modern citizenship. We must demand that our schools, our corporations, and our governments treat financial wellness with the same urgency as physical health. We need a global curriculum that focuses on the velocity of money, and that means understanding how capital works, tax alpha, and behavioral bias. So, tonight, I want you guys to go back home and look at your book. Flip to the page titled The Next Chapter. Is the ink being written by your creditors? Is it a story of anxiety and just getting by? Or is it a story where you are a background character in a bank's quarterly earning report? Or is it a story of agency? The next chapter to come is not a pedimented fate. It is a space of radical possibility, but that possibility is only accessible to those who know the rules of the game. Financial literacy is the light that reveals the path. It is the difference between being a passenger on a ship tossed by global economic storms and being the navigator who knows how to use the wind to move forward. The previous chapter was about survival, the next chapter is about design. You are the author, the ink is wet, the page is blank. It's time to start writing a story worth reading. Thank you.